Welcome back to another episode of Recruiting Essentials here at the War Room. I am your host, Shooter Hunt of Prep Baseball, joined by one of my favorite human beings, not just coaches, in the world right now, Mike Brown, Utah Utes. Brownie, welcome to the show.
Shooter, thank you. That's quite the introduction, man. I'm honored to be here and excited to chat.
I didn't even have I don't have coffee right now because I got Mike Brown with me and Brownie. We first met you at Mississippi State. You guys were on staff. My brother was getting recruited there. You guys went through all the stuff there, go to Omaha. But I want to talk about prior to that because you start out, you played at Kentucky. Mm-hmm. Then you jump right on staff with Gary Henderson to coach there. Were you there when Cal won that national title?
When Cal won the
Coach Cal
no,
with the hoops.
Calipari. No. Yeah. So I actually kind of had two stints. So I played in 06, 07.
Yeah.
I stayed under John Cohen. Coach Henderson was the pitching guy. I stayed on that staff in 08. We had Colin Cowgill, we had James Paxton, we had Andrew Albers. But Shooter, I felt like I should have been the starting second baseman for the Yankees in 08, and no one drafted me or gave me the opportunity to play. So I got away. So I moved up to Washington, D.C. area with my girlfriend at the time, but now my wife, Sarah.
Okay.
And then I came back for my second stint as a grad assistant with Coach Henderson as the skipper, and Cal won the Natty in between.
Oh, okay.
So I missed out. I was in D.C. selling copy machines when they were, flipping over cars and doing their deal.
Okay. I see that. So you go to Kentucky, like just your coaching path. Mm-hmm. With Gary Henderson, John Cohen, it's amazing how tight-knit the coaching community is and just baseball world is in general, but those are two monsters in the baseball industry. And
totally.
Was it right from there to New Mexico State? Because I was following what you went to. You go to New Mexico State. You've kind of been all over Utah, Mississippi State, Hawaii. We'll get back into the fact that you're from Davis. I actually had to look up Davis. I'm such terrible. People in California would be like, "Are you stupid?" Yes, I don't know my geography well. I had to look up where it was. It is in the Sacramento area. That's where you're from.
Yeah, suburb of Sacramento. The Aggies are I think the thing that puts us on the map. Not the bicycle capital of the world. We're not very proud of that in Davis, California. But yeah, Davis, suburb of Sacramento, small college town. It's a great place to grow up. Maybe a better place to leave when you're 17 or 18, and then you start to appreciate the quality and the safeness and just the beauty of Davis, California, really. But you don't know that when you're growing up there.
No.
And
but you've been all over though. It's
yeah. Fortunately for me, I went to Cal Poly as a player out of high school. It was Coach Larry Lee's first year there.
Adding another guy to your tree. You know everybody.
How about this? Jerry Weinstein was the pitching coach.
What?
And I had committed to Cal Poly. This is kind of fun. I think this is important for your viewers in terms of how the recruiting world and the recruiting cycle has changed.
Yeah.
I was a senior in high school. My job was to water the infield after practice. One of our assistant coaches played for Jerry at Sac City, had a relationship with him. J-Dub is the pitching guy at Cal Poly. It's a flip phone is handed to me. Hey, Jerry Weinstein's on the phone. And it's like, hey, coach, how's it going? First communication. He says, do you want to come to Cal Poly on a book scholarship? I said, yeah, hell yeah. And he said, we'll send you some stuff in the mail. And that was it. And from there, I was going to Poly, had loose communication kind of as we got closer to the school year. But that was my recruiting process. Coach Kenner was the pitching coach at Davis High School in 2002, and he kind of orchestrated the deal. But no Twitter posts, no letters in the mail, really no showcases. Area codes was going on at that time, but it was very limited. And I talked to my recruiting guy one time, my future coach.
It's interesting because you probably had somebody that went to bat for you, and even now, you never know who's watching you. And the conversations, and this summer, right? The summer season getting ready to start. I'll be sitting next to you. We'll catch up on stuff. Oh, this guy's a good player. What do you got in this guy? But those conversations are so important and valuable for families to know. If you're a parent or a kid and you see the coaches are talking hey, if they're talking to me, we're probably talking about a player. We might be talking about what coffee shop we're going to or what kind of dinner we're going to get. But eventually it'll be like, yeah, this guy's a good player. Oh, did you see him this spring? Oh, yes, I did. And those are the conversations I think that are so valuable at the ballpark. And obviously you have
100%.
got you Cal Poly.
100%. And I think too, like the parents in the stands overhearing coaches talk, right? And as a coach, you got to be mindful and understand you can't be bashing kids, but there's a lot of honesty in those conversations. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? I think coach to coach is refreshing because the vast majority is truth. And all of a sudden, if a mom or dad hears some negative comments about a player that's out there, I would encourage them to listen to that and see what it is. Is it attitude? Is it the guy's not trying? Is it too flavorful and showcase guy, or just, get through the uncomfortableness of the negative talk and listen to what it is? Because I think, to your point, Shooter, that's our world. I mean, we get a
Mhm.
tip on a kid, we call somebody who has been in his life on the baseball field. Um, and then on the other side of the coin, you call guys who were not on the baseball field with them, but they were important in their lives. And, how do they carry themselves off the field? How do they carry themselves in the classroom? And our job is to figure out as much as we can, without any of it being petty. I mean, it's all valuable information that we got to figure out on the front end.
Yeah, I had to talk with one coach, and he had such a great comment about just a lot of what we do is critical. There's so many things
Yes.
that we do that are critical. It can spill over in the rest of our life. When we're at a game, you're like looking for little things to nitpick. And as a player, don't give many of those. Like go out there and leave less question marks. And I always talk about mitigating risk. Like you're talking about what is this kid going to be? How do I mitigate this risk? What is the value going to be for this player? What are some of the things? And let's dive right into it. Like, what are some of the things that you look for a player? You get to a field, you're one of the top recruiters in the country. You've been all over. You've been to the top baseball stadium and baseball in the country at Dudy Noble.
Taj
The top,
Mahal.
what I think, literally the smartest kids in the world seem to go to Hawaii. If you're from me and you're in North
That's what I say.
Jersey and it's 30 degrees and you're throwing in April, Hawaii sounds really good. And now you're in Utah, which might be the nicest backdrop of any field in the country. But you've been all over. What are the things that you're looking for in a player?
Yeah, I think response comes to my mind first, Shooter. And I think it's funny because we prep guys, and I think camp and the university's camp is such a great opportunity for kids to show their skills. But we as coaches, and I can't speak for everybody, but I'm pretty confident in this statement. We know that the game is very challenging. We know that we're not going to sit on you for a couple games or even a showcase, and you're going to make every play perfectly, fundamentally sound, to the chest, 11-inch target. So we sort of, I at least anticipate some mistakes and some flaws in their game. And I think the fastest way to get, not an 100% accurate reading on the kid, but the fastest way to get in that inside that guy's brain and how he goes about his business is, what does he do when he makes a mistake? If he throws the ball away, is he not engaged anymore? If he kicks the ball, does he go after the ball to try to, salvage the play and make sure nobody gets additional bases, even though there's no base runners? You know what I'm saying? So I think maybe a good answer to your question, Shooter, is I tried to envision that kid in a game, whether it's a showcase style, it's batting practice. Like, is he able to put himself imaginarily into a game? I think most of the work we're doing, and I work with the outfielders, like, how do we turn this drill work, the practice environment, how do we turn the batting practice environment into a game read where all we're doing, all those skills and enhancing them and development and all that stuff. And I also like to remind our guys of this. We're only doing this to be good in the games. Like, we're
Mhm.
going to field 500 fly balls today or over the course of a week, and we're trying to catch 2 of them in the game. And I think the more you can get away from self-pity and frustration and woe is me, the faster you can be engaged in the next pitch. And I think, again, blanket statement, our job is to teach these guys how to play the game one pitch at a time. Like, can you be at your best for 250 pitches in one game? Each pitch is its own entity. Nothing else matters that's already happened, and absolutely nothing matters that's going to happen in the future. And I think the showcase is cool because there's so much opportunity to chat. There's scouts and coaches distracting guys, and the 30 kids in line waiting for the next ground ball. What are they doing during those segments? Are they watching the kid in front of them? If it's a little bit more, a little less showcase style, are they watching the guys that are making the mistakes and trying not to make the same mistakes those guys in front of them are doing? If everybody's shanking balls under to the backside, are they going to go in there in batting practice and really not try to do that and try to
Yeah.
hit line drives or just do anything other than the common fail that's occurring at that moment?
Response. I love that because it's something that I watched for, right? At
Yeah.
a showcase, and like it's maybe the makeup of a kid, it's something shows up, right?
Yes.
Oh, if a guy's not throwing good BP, are they getting pouty? What is the
Yes.
facial expression? Oh, he makes a bad pitch. He starts blaming the mound or something instead of like, no, I'm getting it back and doing the next thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's or you can see there's all these little things, or a fielder like starts blaming a bad hop, like as the pitcher, like, bro, get the rock, man. Like, don't let me
Yes.
get to second base. Like, I'm screaming as a pitcher, but though some
We
of the
need
guys,
that play.
like, he went after it, and like, hey, there was no woe is me on that. And it's important, I think, for kids and parents to see like that's being watched. Hey,
Yes.
yeah, you had a bad round of BP, but did you come out and say like this guy stinks, this guy does this? Because even now at our All American games, been around those kids, like they don't blame things. Like
Yes.
I was around, they adjust. There's no blame, there's response. So that's awesome that you're looking for that.
Yeah, and it's cool too because again, the best the best players that we have, they're the next pitch is the only thing that matters. You know what I mean?
Mm.
And all of a sudden you have guys that go really well and things are going better than they could be, and balls are falling, and balls, marginal balls and strikes are balls if they're hitters, and they're strikes if they're pitchers. And then the minute, the tide turns, what do they do? And again, we are around kids every day that just cannot collect themselves and stay focused on the next pitch. Um, and it kind of becomes detrimental, shooter.
Yeah.
You're so frustrated by the umpire's call, the 2-1 call last inning, that you can't throw a strike and you can't, square up the belt high fastball mistake. So
Response.
and this is funny, man. It's hard for kids and young kids to respond based on their performance. And the proof, to me at least, is I do one spiel at camp, right? Troy Squires does an unbelievable job at camp. They turn it over to me, and it's like, hey, all we're paying attention to is what you do after you make a mistake. We already know you're going to make a mistake. That flushing the day and just making it perfect, that's not going to happen. So can you keep your head up? Can you get the next ball? Can you have a good time even if you make a mistake? And dude, within 5 minutes, these guys are throwing a ball away and catch play, and their heads are down and they're pissed off. And you're like, wow, I literally, and I'll even milk it. You're like, hey, it's okay. We want you to make a mistake, and we're going to be watching. And if you respond poorly, you're done. And boom, immediately, frustration, disappointment, woe is me. And it's amazing because I'm like, dude, I just told you, like, literally. And I also think in
Goldfish.
the best players that we get to see, same thing you're going through in the All American games, they don't get mad.
Mhm.
Like I always joke around, like, if an infielder kicks a ball, the confident infielder looks around and it's like, hey, did you guys see that? Like, can you believe I missed one? Like, I hope you guys got a picture of that, because it's few and far between, and you probably won't see another one today. But make light of it. Like, the one commonality in our game, I think, shooter, is it's hard, and it can become less than great. We've all been there, right? You lose a couple
Mhm.
games in a row that you think you should, but I'm like, if you can't get over failure, and if you don't hate the game of baseball sometimes, you probably don't love it. And you know what I'm saying? And I think that is also another piece of it, to where, hey, man, you've got to control your emotions. So you really have to take it lighter than you're currently taking it. Like, you can't, Coach Henderson reminds our guys, it's a baseball game. It's a baseball game, and we're up there, afraid of the strike zone, or we're afraid to swing. And the fear of not succeeding, I think, pollutes guys and really eliminates the joy, which is kind of more than half the battle, I think.
What's the Joe Madden? It's the don't let the pressure outweigh the pleasure of
Yeah,
it's great.
exactly. When,
So like
great.
we've talked about the adjustment, the response, but like ultimately you have to be pretty good. There still have to be some good things. So like when you show up, like what are some of the first things? Like say you had an outfielder probably has the bang. What kind of things are you looking for in the box to see from him? How can an outfielder that you're seeing for the first time impress Mike Brown?
If we're talking batting practice, shooter, I
Mhm.
think the consistency of backspun line drives in the middle of the field.
Okay.
I think there's a misconception where young kids, especially, they just want to get up there and they want to turn and burn, and they're taking a round of five, and they're going to barrel one and maybe get one and run it out of the yard. But the other four are weak contact, and they're shanked, or they're pull side ground balls, and the consistency of striking the ball clean isn't had. if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I would say rolling up to a ball game and watching these kids compete against a pitcher, I think it's easy to see if they have a plan. You know what I mean? I think you sit on a guy for one at bat and you can start to say, okay, man, this guy is looking for this. He's on the fastball. There's a really distinct, specific approach with less than two strikes versus with two strikes, which I do think in a lot of events is lost. Guys are trying to, roll the pole 0, 1, or two strikes. But I do like to see a plan. Like we spend so much time implementing a plan and an approach with our players, more time than recreating their swing. Do you know what I'm saying? So I think the
Yep.
batting practice, the quality of contact, the consistency of the barrel, that lets us know that, hey man, this guy's got a good path. He's got a good swing. There's some rhythm to the swing. There's some consistency to what he's looking for and what he's getting and delivering the barrel. And then in the game, is this guy aggressive? Does he have a plan? If a pitch is up in the middle of the plate, over the plate, is he going? Or is he chasing 56-foot breaking balls? Which I think maybe not always accurately, but man, he's looking for breaking balls. He's getting them and he's going. The challenge is they're 59 feet and they're not getting all the way to home plate, which again, I want guys that can hit the fastball. You know what I mean? I
Mhm.
want young kids, and in your events, man, there's velo, and a lot of times they are there to rip the velo.
Yeah.
And when you start to see guys get a little bit more susceptible to the soft and the breaking ball, and like their plan is to try to yank it down the pull side foul pole, I don't think that's conducive of being a good batter in college. I think Coach John Savage is the best pitch schemer that I've ever competed against. And then when he sees that, it's funny to him, and he's pissed if he can't get you out in three pitches. And again, we want guys that can extend at bats. We want guys that can flip their plan based on the count and based on the strikes and based on the stuff on the mound. And when you have guys that are a little bit more result oriented, I'm just going to rip the fence and try to jump the yard. I don't think that's necessarily realistic.
It's interesting because I think of our future games, right? 600 kids, and shoot, there's going to be so much velo there this year going through some of these 2027s right now. It's hard to hit at those because you're seeing such big stuff. You're not seeing the same arm over and over again. Like I'm always very apologetic to the hitter, right? It's difficult to do this, but there's so many other things you can do well. And even beyond like the athletic testing that we do is great, right? It gives, I go home after workout day. I get the athletic test. Say I'm like, oh, this kid did this, this, and this. Oh, I need to circle back and watch that kid. But then I watch how he does it, right? And even more than just this 60-yard time, how does he do it? How does he run? What's that first step like? Is that something that you're looking at as well?
Yeah, I mean, and the tools and the data, it's an avenue to watch. Do you know what I'm saying? But at the end of the
Mhm.
day, like we're recruiting baseball players, and I do think no fault of any amateur player, but sometimes that's lost. And again, if you run a 6.5, that means you're a good base runner or a good base stealer or fast from home to first, which
Yeah.
is not always the case, right? So yeah, I think it's 100% how you carry yourself. Are you, again, it goes back to me, like, are you engaged? You're running the 60, and now after your 60 time is done, are you done? Are you in the dugout by yourself and you got people fanning you off, or are you engaged in what's going on within the event and within the other runners? But it's got to translate, shooter. You know what I'm saying? I think it's funny because I know that exact feeling of you're at the hotel room, you're looking at the data, you're looking at the times, you're looking at the metrics, and you circle that kid, and then you go watch him, and you're like, oh, this guy's not for us. Like he's done a good job within this segment, but we're trying to score one more run than the other team, and his
Mhm.
feel for the actual game isn't at the level that we're trying to bring in.
It's that circle back, and again, going back to that mitigation of risk, like seeing guys multiple time. And I've talked to coaches all throughout the spring where it's, hey, building those lists. The more looks you get, the more chances it is for me to want to come see you, right? If you have a right second baseman, probably gonna have to see him a few times.
Correct.
Like, and every coach in the country has like, this guy can really do it. This guy can really hit. I'm forgetting the kid's name. He's at UTSA right now, but he was a huge future game kid, little dude, having a great year. That's beside the point. But a guy you got to see over and over again. So for kids to get on that radar early is important, and to get yourself out there and somehow. But what I want to ask you is, should I be as a prospective student athlete? I'm a 2027. You can't talk to me just yet. Should I be sending you some tweets? Should I be sending you an email? Should I send it to Coach Henderson? Should I send it to the staff? What should I be doing?
Yeah, I think absolutely. And I think the more valuable is your coach and the people that you're involved with your travel program or your high school coach, have those guys reach out, and just put a feeler out there, get his name on the list. But
Mhm,
and I think maybe to go back to I think email is a little bit more personal than Twitter.
mhm.
I think Twitter's valuable. I think Twitter, you're going to look at it I, for whatever reason, I get a bunch of Twitter messages. I would say a vast majority, the kid's not a good enough player for us to recruit. But it becomes a little disingenuous. Whereas where I get an email and I'm going through my process of going through the emails, whenever I do that, that's when I pay a little more attention. And I think everybody's probably different, shooter, in that regard. But man, I think it's very valuable. And in terms of from our angle, we're reaching out to coaches and travel guys and, hey man, what do you got? Who am I watching this summer? How do you feel about these guys that I've seen on your roster or whatever, or I've seen on Twitter?
Yeah.
And I think the ability to evaluate guys is getting less and less and less time wise. You know what I'm saying? It's competitive. The 27s, we can't talk to them, but everybody's got feelers. And in terms of the state of Utah, I've been watching high school playoffs, and we're starting to see some pretty good 27s and 28s. So it goes into who spends the most time with those guys. Like you said, I'd love to watch the little undersized second baseman 5 or 6 times, but that's not necessarily always possible or realistic. So it becomes, hey man, I saw him 3 times. I love him. This is kind of the player that I think he is. What do you got? How is he all the time at practice? Is he a overachiever, like kind of the vibe that I'm getting when I'm
Mhm.
watching him? And you gotta, it boils down or kind of always falls back on the guys who spend the most time with them daily. Do I have a relationship with that guy to trust him? And if he says, hey Brownie, yes, it's a go, sync that up with the 2 times that I saw him, hopefully more, maybe once, and then you move on if you feel like you move on.
Yeah, having more of those chances, and even a kid, especially because you're in Utah, right? You're Four Corners, California, Northwest, going to eat, like you guys are kind of all over the country with some stuff. If a kid has interest, though, it's important for you. You can't be wasting days. Hey, you kind of put, like you said, put those feelers. I have some interest here, coach, because now I'm not wasting my time flying to
Yes.
Florida or going to Lake Point or Creekside, whatever it may be. You need to know, like, hey, there's something here. I like this kid. I'm gonna go.
100%. And I think, and Utah's a unique place, right? Because it is a little bit foreign, even to the Washington kid. A lot of Arizona and Utah are close and easy travelable, but
Hmm.
there's some Arizona kids or Cali kids that have never been to Utah. And I'm one of them. I was a California kid, grew up. I didn't know about Utah. I had the pictures that I painted of the state, but I didn't know. And so I think to your point, shooter, it's all about, hey, does he have interest? Is this realistic? And the guys that you're bringing into the futures, the 95, 98 guy, maybe he's an SEC kind of only, and his skills have got him some opportunity that, maybe a little bit different than what the guys that we're trying to get. Um, but man, it's all about educating the player about Utah, and it's all about uncovering if they have interest and making this thing a realistic chance for
Yeah,
sure.
as an East Coast guy, literally the Jordan's flu game was like my
Yeah.
resounding memory of of Utah. Even though Salt Lake, gorgeous airport, like
Yes.
incredible, very clean. I love flying through there. What about like a kid who's talking to you on the phone?
Mhm.
August 1 will come. You're already recruiting. Your voice is already. You're gonna need lots of coffee, some hot tea. I'm sure you're doing some vocal
Midnight texts, of
midnight
course.
text. How should a kid be responding? What do you like to get from the kid? Do you want to have the uniform like, yes, sir? Like I was from Jersey. I said yeah a lot. I was told like you got to
Yeah.
say yes, sir, when you go to get recruited down south.
Right.
Do you want to hear the realness of the kid or like somewhere in the middle?
See, great question. I want to, and it's my job in some sense to make the kid as comfortable as he can, right? I want to get to the level of it's a regular conversation. The parents in the background, the kid very programmed, the kid rattling off questions that a recruiting service, encouraged him to ask. I think that's okay. I think that is a little bit of a way for the kid to become comfortable. But my goal, and I think you know me, shooter, in the sense of I want it to jive, man. I want to talk. I want him to be himself. I want him to share his opinions on things, which may be different than ours.
Hmm.
Because at the end of the day, if you can't get to that level of communication and that relationship doesn't grow, you're going to figure out who that kid is when he's on campus. And sometimes you would have hoped that you could get to that personality a little more genuinely 6 months before.
Let's figure this out before we have to have a serious conversation type deal. But even the relationship, it kind of starts now, right? The 2027 is August 1. That relationship, like 6 years from now, like this will be a kid that you've had 4 years in your program, and he may be coaching, right? He may be your grad assistant someday. And like those are, I'm getting goosebumps right now thinking about it, because the guys I coached who I like still have relationships with, and
Troy Squires, who's on our staff.
Yeah.
Well, and I think even more like, and we're about to enter kind of a unique climate, right? The transfer portal is opening around the corner.
Mm-hmm.
We're still in the middle of some junior college deals, but what our approach is going forward, and sort of to minimize, or sort of to, as you said, like to eliminate the attempt. We're trying to get guys that we've had past relationships with. Do you know what I mean? Like even now, a second-year junior college kid, I recruited him a little bit in high school, goes to a different school at a high school, kicks back to the JUCO. Now I've been talking to him for a couple months, but I also talked to him when he was a junior in high school. And I was on a Zoom call with him and his family, 3 years ago. And I think that in terms of the guys we're trying to add in the summer, the goal would be to have a pre-existing relationship with that kid, even though we haven't talked for 2 years, or whatever it is. And again, I think when you're in a climate where the recruiting process is 2 weeks, we need a little bit more foundation. You know what I'm saying? We need to know the high school coach. We need to have a real relationship with the travel coach. We need to have a relationship with the kid out of high school or out of a junior college, or before he made the decision to go to that place. And so I think now's the biggest time of historic relationship. Mm-hmm. And again, I think that's where the value of, I think about it like this, and this is what I tell kids. It's like, hey man, I want to talk to you to get to the level to lay the foundation of trust. So when you show up on campus the first day of practice, all 4 coaches can scream at you. and there's no, why is Brownie screaming at me? You know what I'm saying? Like, we want to prepare that guy to be coached hard and let him know, hey, this is going to be tough. And if you can make it through this window, whether it be 2 years, 1 year, 4 years, whatever, you're going to leave a man, you're going to leave a professional, you're going to leave a guy that's ready to enter society with some feel and some awareness, and you're going to be able to contribute. And I, to your point, man, that starts August 1st. When they're juniors in high school, which is a little crazy to think about.
It is so crazy. And I am an apologist for all you recruiting coordinators, as like you talk about that. It's almost like a transfer portal window where you're going out to high school tournaments, you're watching the state final, you're trying to see some JUCO stuff. Just have to be in the portal. That's just the way the sport is right now. And you're on the phone nonstop, trying to be present as well. So it is really difficult for you guys. So any parents out there, especially for those early weeks in June, kind of through July 1, where, hey, just give the guy a break. If it sounds like he's on the phone, he's probably still watching the game. Recruiting coordinators can multitask. They'll understand if your guy's throwing strikes and getting guys out, and he's getting hits and he's making plays. It will be seen, but they just may happen to be on the phone. So please give them some leeway with that.
Thank you. We're stretched a little thin, but it's exciting, man, because again, I know for me, even just with the D2 and some of the graduates already entering the portal, you see a name on the portal, you've got his number in your phone from 4 years ago, and that first initial call is pretty easy. Mm-hmm. Hey, man, and again, the players remember and all that sort of stuff. But it's a short cycle, and it's an unknown cycle in a sense. And really the interesting thing that I'm curious to see how it unfolds is all these programs that get guys that they've known for a week or 2 weeks. How does that transpire?
Yeah.
Coach Henderson's taught me, like, sometimes it's the guys you don't get that are the best for your program. And last summer we're aggressively going after some arms, and they had nice years the year before. They didn't choose us. And all of a sudden you look back at their stat line from last season and you're like, man, I'm really glad we didn't get that guy.
That was good miss.
You know what I'm saying? So I think there's that piece of it too.
And even going back to just like the makeup, like the parents get brought in that too. And you talk about talking to the travel coach, you're going to talk to the high school coach. What is this like? The thing that I hear so much, like, dad's a headache. Yeah. Or something like that. So it's like, hey, parents, like, keep in mind that, like, you are being evaluated as well, but it's more so not so much from your kids' play. That can be separate. Brownie's going to watch, get the tools going, but the coach, the travel coach, the lessons guy, whatever it may be, they may have not a great sell. And now it's neck and neck. Your kid and another kid. It's, hey, this guy's not a headache. So
Yeah. Well, and it's unfortunate. You know what I'm saying? And what I've
mm,
learned over the years is like I've got to get that eval myself from the parent. Does you know what I'm saying?
yes.
And a lot of times it's a personality clash, just like everything else. And I should say most of the time when the rap on the parent is he's a little much or she's a little much, it's pretty accurate. But I do think you owe it to the kid because again, the kid and the parent at the end of the day, sophomore, junior, senior in high school, they have their own personalities and they have their own ways of going about their business. Most of the time, pretty similar, but you can't. I don't know. I've learned you can't just attribute that kid's a negative connotation because the parent is a pain in the rear end, you know. And I will say this, shooter, and this is cool, but I feel like collectively it's okay to be a pain in the butt to the travel coach, to the high school coach, to the PBR guy. But the minute you walk on campus of a university, we're out. And I've literally had parents be like, "Hey, we only got a year left. We only got a year left to be that squeaky
Mhm.
wheel and make sure our voices are heard because once he goes to college, we're out." Don't have a study of how accurate that is, but I do think it's a little bit more appropriate for whatever reason. It's never appropriate, but for that parent to wear out the travel coach or wear out the high school coach a little bit easier than they do the college coach.
It's interesting. I even get it from the kids, and we'll have talks, and those guys will be like, "Oh, this kid is there's red flags. Like he's not a good kid." And then I'll be like, "Why?" Because he cursed after he got out. Like that. That's not a red flag to me. But like those are red flags to other
Correct.
people. But things that are red flags to me may not equate in that sense.
Same. I'm
So
like, I'm on it. I'm like,
yeah,
hey, this guy's in the showcase and he's frustrated. And he had his little tantrum, which is not, I'm not supporting it, but then he was engaged. Like he got it
yes, the
out and he was locked
response.
in. And I
It
think
all
that's
ties
valuable.
back. It all
Pat
ties back to
Burrell.
your response
So Pat Burrell, pretty good player, had a nice career, Bay
at the
Area
bat.
guy. Coach Hendu watches him, in 92, and Pat has an eruption, throws his stuff, and he's all frustrated. And Hendu to Pat Casey, hey, I don't know, man. This guy got a little bit upset. I think we need to move away. Like, I don't think he's the right guy. And Case is like, nah, I think we're good, Garrett. Like, we'll be okay. You caught him in a bad moment, but we're going to still recruit Pat Burrell. So again,
Um,
and that is the thing too. Like, I think every recruiter has a little bit different opinion of how because the frustration is there, and I can run a big game early in the podcast about, hey man, control yourself, and everyone's watching and the response is all that
yeah.
matters. But sometimes we lose our cool, and I'm a huge believer of you can tame a fool but you can't resurrect the dead. And that line was used to describe Allen Iverson, where everybody's passing on AI and he's a
Mhm.
street kid, and uh,
Oh,
John Thompson John Thompson's like, hey man, I love this kid. He's a fool, but I can tame him. He's not the dad, and that has stuck with me because again, it's not about that was me. I was the worst. I was making a scene to let my teammates know that I cared, and it was a foolish, immature way. But I'm chucking my helmet. I'm throwing my bat. I'm yelling at the umpire until I was about 21 years old. But if I would have been knocked and eliminated from that, then I would have been eliminated. I wouldn't, I would have tried to play football or something.
it's interesting to have the balance. I'm thinking like some of I was not that, but my best friends were. So it was like, but like I love being with those guys on the team because it's like he was going to hold guys accountable and he was holding himself accountable. I think about we keep coming full circle to the response, and like
Yeah.
I will use that the rest of the summer because response is so important. All you players going through showcases, gameplay, you're at Lake Point, you just went 0 for 12. Respond. What's
What's
game
next?
4 going to be like? What's game 5?
Exactly.
Because you just had an 8 a.m. game and you had to do that after 12 p.m. last or 12 a.m. last pitch.
Yeah.
Respond.
That's
Brownie, I really appreciate you coming on. I
yeah.
know how busy you are. You guys, the recruiting, you guys will be lost in your trans for a few weeks when I see you coming up. I want to wrap up with something cool here. And these are the most important questions that I'm going to ask of the day. And these are sponsored by shop.prepbaseball.com. I got my new polo here. Really nice little Mizuno
Mizuno.
action.
Yeah.
Be sure to check that out. Brownie, if you give me some good answers here at the future games, we'll have some nice gear for you as well.
I'm in.
I'm heading out to Utah. I'm coming to campus. Where am I getting coffee? What's the coffee shop? And where am I going out to dinner?
Great questions. I'm a Starbucks triple shot short cup guy.
Okay.
So I'm getting, but I will say this, if you're a coffee connoisseur, there's a lot of, I don't know if this is appropriate, but hipster kind of
Yeah, give
granola
me a
coffee
good
shop.
hipster. I want to sit down. I want a little rustic. I want to, I don't know, like the Shins playing in the background, like
Right,
something like
yeah.
that going on.
There's some folky music going on.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, and I hope Starbucks is watching. I would be surprised if they were, but I don't know. Shooter, I am triple shot in
Okay.
a short cup, and I fill it with hot water after, and I'm rolling.
Okay.
And I'm a home brew guy when I'm only on the road coffee when I'm on the road. But
Okay.
I will say this: 2 answers. The first place to eat if it's Monday through Friday is the football cafeteria on campus, and
No
you have to
way.
be. It's unbelievable.
Is that why you
Yeah.
guys are so good at football? You're bringing in linemen because you got the best food?
Well, and they have to eat there, which I didn't know for about the first semester, first 6 months I was on campus, but like they mandate the football players eat there 3 meals a day. There's chefs that are the same, so you start to know the chefs. If you play well, they encourage you. If you don't play well, they remind you that you need to play well. But it's
So
a
they let
very
you in? Do you sneak in there? How do you get in there?
no, it's athletes only.
Oh, okay.
We call it the football calf because it's in the football facility, which is right across the street from the baseball facility. But we take recruits there.
Wow.
When we win a football game, they have a victory meal, and it's like filet mignon and lobster, and they bring in sushi
Oh,
chefs and they bring in pastry chefs, and it's kind of crazy. It's one of our. We actually had a kid on campus yesterday, as you know, but it's closed this week because they're doing a plumbing sewage issue in the football facility. So it was a little bit of a kick in the. But the other answer would be Stone Ground Italian Kitchen.
Stone ground.
Yes.
Okay. What am
Joy
I
is
ordering?
you're ordering the black tagliatelle since we're on the subject. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. It's homemade pasta.
Okay.
They dye Coach Henderson would be making fun of me over my shoulder right now, but they dye the pasta with squid ink
Little
that's
squid ink
black.
action.
You know
Okay.
it, New Jersey guy.
There you go.
But Joy is the GM. We text her. We bring primarily our recruits there. It's like a swanky, only open for dinner downtown.
Good ambiance.
Yeah, real ambiance.
Look at Salt Lake standing up with some Italian action. Little squid ink.
Dude.
I'm definitely coming in. Listen, I'm going to be monitoring all Utah football matchups,
Anytime.
and I'll be looking at the spread strictly to know I think they have a chance to win. I'm going to book a flight in because I know that the victory meal is happening tonight.
When you beat the Buffaloes, you get Buffalo. You beat the Gators. I don't think the Gators are on the schedule next year, but you beat the Gators week 1, and you got Gator on the schedule.
We're shipping in Gator.
You're shipping in Gator. And since this is a family show, I'll be very transparent. My question and my personality, well, what happened? Because the victory meal is Monday night, football game Saturday.
Okay.
So, hey, what happens if they don't win? I mean, never will Utah football lose, but what in the event that the refs screw up the game or the lights go out? What they break up the food into different meals throughout the week. So you get a little lobster, roll pasta on Wednesday instead of lobster tails on Monday.
Okay, you beat
So
Maryland, you get a little turtle soup. Like,
yes.
Okay. I like where this is at.
They're not throwing it away.
You got me sold. I'm coming on a recruiting visit, so I'm going to go try to find. I mean, everybody's getting another year right now, so I think I'm going to try to get one of those as well.
Well, Hendu would sit down with you, Shooter, and break it down, and first pitch strikes and second pitch command and everything else.
Well, Mike Brown of Utah, I really appreciate you hopping on, Brownie. Keep crushing it this summer. I can't wait to see you out there sweating at Lake Point with some new gear for you, though. So be ready for that.
Well, and maybe reciprocal, and I'll buy you a triple shot and a short cup from Starbucks.
There we go. I'll be laced for the day then. Well, thank you everybody out there. Hopefully this has been a wonderful episode of the Recruiting Essentials here at the War Room. And until next time, we will see each and every one of you at the ballpark.